Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament or GPP plays for this Week 5 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of my cheat sheet, breaking down a couple of games that I like stacking up in Week 5, as well as some of my favorite individual plays and stacks. But folks, I cannot recommend enough joining the free Discord channel that I have. You can see it mentioned above. We now have over 700 people in there talking daily fantasy sports and betting. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. With that being said, let's take a look at the cheat sheet here. We're going to kick it off with a couple of game stacks that I like, and if you watch my first look video on Tuesday, I was all over that game between the Bengals and Ravens, and I still like it here as of Friday, stacking up Joe Burrow with T. Higgins, who's flying under the radar, will not have heavy ownership this weekend, and very affordable there at $6,000, as well as Mike Gesicki, because that Ravens defense has not been able to stop tight ends all year long. Now, you could go with All Junior here at $2,700. He's got 4 receptions in every single game so far this year, but Gesicki is still technically running out of the slot more than All Junior is. And then running it back with Derrick Henry, who's been an absolute monster over the last 2 weeks. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you want to keep that truck rolling. Now, the next game stack that I like here is this game between the Colts and the Jags, and I do think we could stack up either side. I know Trevor Lawrence has not been great this year, but man, if he's going to have a good game, it might as well be against this Colts defense, who has not been great either. But the word is right now is Joe Flacco's getting all the first team reps as of Friday. Anthony Richardson is questionable and could play, but I don't believe that he is going to play. For what it's worth, I'll mention this now. If Richardson plays, I would prefer to stack up the Lawrence side with a couple of his pass catchers. But right now, assuming that it will be Joe Flacco, I like stacking up Flacco here with Pittman as well as Josh Downs, and then running it back with ETN, who had 2 of his best games against this Colts defense last year, and as well Brian Thomas, who has a great matchup against this Colts secondary. So again, we need to keep an eye on the status of Richardson here, but assuming that it's Flacco, I like this game stack. Now, folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. We just hit 4,100 subs on this channel. You guys have been awesome about subscribing so far this year, but if you haven't yet, and you could, again, I would appreciate it. Alright, now diving into some of these individual plays and stacks here, we're going to kick it off at the quarterback position, where I got Deshaun Watson. No, I'm not a fan, but I do like the price tag here, and I love the matchup against that Commanders secondary, one of the worst in the league. He's got some easy stacking pieces as well. You can see I got Amari Cooper on the spreadsheet, but I don't mind Jerry Jeudy either in the 5K range. You could even do a double stack there and run it back with someone like Terry McLaurin, but I do like Deshaun Watson this week, one of the better matchups he's going to see all year long. Moving on to the running back position, before we dive into this here, I do want to mention that I highlighted a bunch of plays in my cash video yesterday. You got to go check that out. A lot of those running backs and wide receivers will be in my tournament pool too. But on the tournament side here, I do like James Cook. That Houston defense was decimated by Aaron Jones 2 weeks ago, and last week ETN and Bigsby averaged 7.7 yards per carry against that defense. So I think Cook is sneaky here. I really like Kenneth Walker in that matchup against the Giants. When he's on the field, he's super explosive, someone who can go for 30 plus DraftKings points, get you that 4x value. And then I like Josh Jacobs here. Now, I like the Green Bay Packers in general. I highlighted a bunch of those guys actually in my cash games video, but I think Josh Jacobs could be slightly sneaky. I don't think he's going to be super under-owned, but he's not going to be a top-owned running back either. And at $6,500 in that matchup against the Rams, I really like it. And I even think we could do a little defense stack there with the Packers. As an honorable mention, I do have DeAndre Swift. I love the matchup here against that Carolina defense. He's not heavily involved at the goal line, though, so I don't necessarily love that. But at $5,700, he is on my radar. Now, moving over to those wide receivers here. Now, I talk about the revenge narrative from time to time, more so in a joking manner. But boy, if I was a true believer in the revenge narrative, this would be the guy to get on right now. Stephon Diggs playing against his former team in the Buffalo Bills. Of course, there's already drama this week. Josh Allen said this about his former wide receiver, so on and so forth. But look, Diggs is a professional. He truly is, and still a really good wide receiver. But he's flying under the radar this week with that revenge narrative, so I like him there at $6,900. I also like Amari Cooper. Talked about that game there with Deshaun Watson, and then running it back with Terry McLaurin. 2 honorable mentions that I like here are Tutu Atwell. Whittington is getting steamed beamed up with the Rams this week in the 4K range, and Atwell is kind of flying under the radar, so I don't mind him there at that price. And then Curtis Samuel should take over the Shakir role, being that he is out this week, playing in the slot. So again, I don't mind that considering the price at 4,200. And then I got a couple of tight ends there in the low 4K range. Cole Kmet, really good matchup there against the Carolina Panthers. Don't mind that price tag. And then Dalton Schultz here. This is likely someone who will fly under the radar all year long, considering Nico's the number 1 catcher in that offense. You got Stephon Diggs is number 2, Tank Dell is number 3, Joe Mixon's going to be coming back and getting involved as well. So Schultz here, I don't mind the matchup here against this secondary for the Buffalo Bills, and at $4,100, we need 16.4 DraftKings points for him to hit 4x value. That's very doable. Now, if you're looking for some cheaper tight ends, again, highlighted those in my cash plays video. And then wrapping it up there with the defenses, we got the Seahawks at home this week, taking on Daniel Jones and the Giants, who will be without Malik Neighbors, and it sounds like Devin Singletary is doubtful too. That Giants offense could really be a mess this weekend. You got the Packers, I talked about it earlier, really good matchup against the Rams. You could do a little stack there with Josh Jacobs. You got the Patriots taking on Miami. If you saw what Huntley did last week, it was not pretty, to say the least, so I do like the Pats there. That could be a really slow game, though. And then the Broncos here are far too cheap at $2,900, playing at home against the Raiders. That defense should be priced in mid 3K range. They are truly legit. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks, and let's win some money on this Week 5 main slate.